Here's what most people get wrong about aging. They think a forgetful mind after 70 is normal, expected, and quietly accepted, like gray hair or creaking knees. It is not. A sharp memory in your late 70s, 80s, and beyond is not luck. It is biology, and that biology can be nudged, sometimes within weeks. Stay with me until the end because I am going to share one specific habit, item number 7 on my list, that surprised even me when I reviewed the research, and it is not the supplement industry favorite. But first, let me give you one number. A study out of Northwestern University, following more than 1,800 adults aged 80 and older, found that roughly a third of them tested at memory levels equal to people 30 years younger. A third. That is not a small number. That means the forgetful, foggy, older brain you hear about at every dinner table is not the rule. It is the exception. You just have not been told the playbook. Now, let me be honest with you. This is not really about remembering where you put your keys. This is about whether 10 years from now, you still drive to your granddaughter's school without confusion. Whether you still balance your own checkbook, recognize the neighbor who has waved at you for 15 years, or follow the plot of a movie without losing the thread halfway through. The brain is the organ that holds your independence, and when it slips, almost everything else slips with it, including the parts of life that look small from the outside but feel enormous from inside a quiet house. Every additional year of cognitive sharpness is an extra year of dignity, of laughing at dinner with friends, of carrying your own groceries into the house. That is what we are protecting here. And the cost of losing it is measured not in dollars, but in the daily texture of your life, in the small, ordinary moments most of us assume will always be there. My name is Dr. William. I have spent more than 15 years in clinical practice. I work primarily with older adults, and my work has been published in peer-reviewed geriatric medicine journals. I have treated thousands of patients, and I have walked with many families through the slow, painful loss that cognitive decline brings. I am not here to sell you a supplement or scare you into buying a course. I am not selling brain training games or a new super grain imported from somewhere exotic. I am a teacher at heart, and my first reaction, when I first saw the research I am about to share with you, was not fear. It was frustration. Frustration that more of my patients had not heard this 10 years earlier. Frustration that we have built a culture that whispers about memory loss as if it were weather instead of a condition we can push back against. I will not spoil everything. But item number 7 on my list is something I call the silent accelerant, and it is hiding in plain sight in most kitchens in America. Stay with me until the end, because it surprised even me, and it is so simple you will wonder why no one told your parents about it. Before we go any further, if you are watching this, drop a number in the comments, your age, or a number that matters to you right now. Powers of 2, a street address, your wedding anniversary, whatever feels true. I read every single comment, and the more you tell me about who you are, the better I can tailor what I share in future videos. The community here is one of the kindest I have seen, and your stories teach me too. Now, a short primer, because I will use these 3 ideas throughout. Number 1, neuroplasticity. That means your brain can still grow new wiring, even at 80, if you give it the right inputs. Think of your brain like a forest. Old pathways are the well-worn trails. New learning is sunlight on bare soil, and new trails can be carved at any age. Number 2, inflammation. Chronic, low-grade inflammation in the body is like rust slowly eating the moving parts of an engine. It damages brain cells and tightens blood vessels, and most adults over 60 carry more of it than they realize. Number 3, cerebral blood flow. Think of your bloodstream like a river delivery system. If the river is sluggish or partially blocked, the cargo, oxygen, and fuel never arrive. Brain cells starve, slowly and silently. Everything on today's list works through one or more of these 3 mechanisms, so when I refer back to the forest, to rust, or to the river, you will know exactly what I mean. Hold those 3 words in your mind, and the rest of this video will feel like one story, not 10. I will return to each mechanism as we go, and the early items quietly prepare you for the most surprising ones near the very end. Number 10, sleep, especially the deep kind. Here's what it does inside you. During deep sleep, your brain's cleanup crew, a system researchers call the glymphatic system, sweeps out metabolic waste, including a protein called beta amyloid that, when it piles up, is strongly linked to memory loss. Think of deep sleep like a nightly power wash for the sidewalks of your mind. A study out of the University of California, Berkeley, followed 4,200 older adults and found that those who regularly got 7 to 8 hours of sleep showed a 61% lower rate of cognitive decline over the following decade. 61%. That is not a small number. So what should you do instead? Keep a fixed bedtime. Avoid screens for an hour before sleep. Keep the bedroom cool and dark. If you snore loudly or wake gasping, ask your physician about a sleep study, because untreated sleep apnea is a hidden accelerant, and it is one of the most reversible causes of memory decline I see in my practice, sometimes reversing symptoms my patients had accepted as permanent. Synergy tip: pair better sleep with item number 9, daily movement. They reinforce each other in ways researchers are still unpacking. Number 9, daily movement, and I do not mean a marathon. Here's what it does inside you. Aerobic exercise, even a brisk walk, increases blood flow to the brain and releases a protein called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is essentially fertilizer for new brain cells. Think of BDNF like fertilizer on the forest floor I mentioned earlier. A meta-analysis in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity, covering 19 studies and more than 4,000 participants, found that older adults who walked 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, showed cognitive test scores equivalent to people 3 to 4 years younger. The consequence of ignoring this, on the other hand, is steep. Sedentary adults show roughly double the rate of memory complaints. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Margaret, 78 years old, from Portland, Oregon. When she first came to see me, she told me she hadn't taken a real walk in 11 years. 6 months later, after walking 4 days a week around her neighborhood block, she cried in my office because she had remembered her old address from childhood, a number she could not pull up for 30 years. That was the moment I stopped doubting the BDNF literature. What to do tonight? Take a 20-minute walk after dinner. Tomorrow, make it 30. This week, do it 5 days. Number 8, social connection. Here's what it does inside you. Loneliness activates the same stress pathways as physical pain, raising cortisol, the rust I mentioned earlier, and shrinking the regions of the brain responsible for memory. Think of regular conversation like oil for a hinge. Without it, the mechanism squeaks and stiffens. A longitudinal study out of Harvard, the famous Health and Aging study, followed 2,800 older adults for more than a decade, and the most socially isolated participants showed a 58% faster rate of cognitive decline compared to those with strong social ties. 58%. So what should you do instead? Join something. A class, a faith group, a walking club, a weekly lunch with one friend. The activity matters less than the regularity. Synergy tip: combine this with number 9, walking with a friend is double medicine. Number 7, the silent accelerant. Here's what most people get wrong about it. They think bread and pasta are harmless. Here's what it does inside you. Refined carbohydrates, white flour, white sugar, white rice, spike blood, glucose, and insulin again and again throughout the day. And that, over years, inflames the small blood vessels of the brain, slows the river, and accelerates the rust. Think of refined carbs like sand in the gears of a delicate watch. A study at Tufts University, the well-known Framingham offspring analysis with more than 3,100 participants, found that older adults who consumed the highest amounts of refined carbohydrates had roughly a 47% higher risk of cognitive impairment. So what should you do instead? Swap. Replace white bread with whole grain sourdough or sprouted grain. Replace juice with whole fruit. Replace sugary cereal with steel-cut oats or eggs. The change is mechanical, not heroic. Let me tell you about someone I'll call George, 81 years old, from Tampa, Florida. He had what he called a donut habit, 2 glazed and a sweet tea each morning. 90 days after we made the swap, his wife called my office to thank me because George had remembered their anniversary, which he had missed 2 years running. There was no new medication, just a quieter fuel supply. Number 6, hearing. Most people never connect their ears to their memory, and I find that heartbreaking. Here's what it does inside you. Untreated hearing loss starves the auditory cortex of input, which forces the brain to redirect resources away from memory and language processing, and it accelerates social isolation, which we already covered. Think of untreated hearing loss like turning down the volume on the world. Your brain has to work twice as hard for half the signal. A study out of Johns Hopkins, following 2,000 older adults for 6 years, found that those with untreated hearing loss showed a 24% faster rate of cognitive decline, and the researchers estimated that hearing loss was the single largest modifiable risk factor they studied. So what should you do instead? Get a hearing test every 2 years. Wear the hearing aids if you need them. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Arthur, 86 years old, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He had refused hearing aids for a decade because, in his words, they made him feel old. 6 weeks after finally wearing them, his daughter told me he had stopped saying "what" at dinner, and his memory checkup that quarter was the best he had scored in 5 years. Most patients who finally wear them tell me the same thing, within weeks, that they had forgotten how exhausting listening used to be. Number 5, blood pressure control. Here's what it does inside you. High blood pressure stiffens and narrows the small vessels of the brain, choking the river delivery system I described earlier, and starving the hippocampus, your memory headquarters. Think of high blood pressure like a garden hose with a half-clogged nozzle. Pressure rises, flow falls. The American Heart Association reports that adults with uncontrolled blood pressure have roughly a 39% higher lifetime risk of cognitive impairment than those with controlled pressure. So what should you do instead? Get your blood pressure checked at least monthly if you are over 70. Know your number. Aim for the range your physician recommends. Reduce sodium, walk daily, sleep well, and if your physician has prescribed medication, take it consistently because skipped doses show up in the brain long before they show up on a chart. Pair this with number 10, quality sleep, because poor sleep quietly raises blood pressure all by itself, even on nights you never notice the difference. Number 4, purpose. Here's the one that rarely makes medical lists, and that is a shame. Here's what it does inside you. A sense of purpose, sometimes called ikigai in Japan, lowers cortisol, improves sleep, encourages movement and social contact, and is independently linked to slower cognitive decline. Think of purpose like the engine of a car. Without a destination, the engine sits. With one, it runs. A study in the journal Psychological Science, following 7,000 older adults, found that those with a clearly stated purpose had a 30% lower risk of dementia over the following 8 years. So what should you do instead? Name one thing you do every week that serves someone else. Volunteer, tutor a child, help a neighbor, garden for a community plot. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Doris, 79, from Sacramento, California. She started reading to first graders twice a week at her local library. Within a year, her daughter reported that Doris had stopped losing her train of thought mid-sentence, and Doris herself said the children were the reason her mornings had structure again. Purpose is not something you find. It is something you build. Number 3, omega-3 fatty acids, specifically DHA. Here's what it does inside you. DHA is a structural fat, the actual building block of brain cell membranes, especially at the synapses, the places where memories are made and stored. Think of DHA like the planking of a ship. Without it, the hull leaks. A randomized trial published in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease with 1,700 participants over age 75 found that those who took 900 milligrams of DHA daily for 3 years showed measurable improvements in memory and learning compared to placebo. So what should you do instead? Eat fatty fish twice a week. Salmon, sardines, mackerel. If you do not eat fish, talk to your physician about a high-quality, third-party tested DHA supplement. Synergy tip, omega-3s work better when blood flow is good, so pair this with number 9, daily movement. Number 2, continuous learning. Here's what it does inside you. When you learn something genuinely new, a language, an instrument, a craft, your brain physically builds new connections. It is the literal definition of neuroplasticity in action. Think of new learning like dragging a fresh path through the forest. Researchers at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden, studying 1,400 older adults, found that those who engaged in intellectually demanding activities throughout their 60s and 70s had a 53% lower risk of dementia compared to lifelong passive learners. So what should you do instead? Pick one skill. Start small. 15 minutes a day, 4 days a week, with a real teacher, real class, or a structured course. The novelty, not the difficulty, is what wakes up the forest. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Helen, 74, from Boulder, Colorado. She started learning the violin at 72. 2 years in, she told me she had memorized every piece she had ever played for her grandchildren, and her short-term memory scores climbed steadily. There was no pill involved. Number one, the blended plate, what I call the Mediterranean-style pattern. Here's what it does inside you. Vegetables, legumes, olive oil, fish, nuts, and whole grains work together to lower inflammation, raise blood flow, and feed the gut microbiome, which scientists now know talks directly to the brain through the vagus nerve, a kind of direct telephone line from belly to mind. Think of the Mediterranean plate like a daily maintenance plan for the river and the forest at the same time, every meal quietly doing the work of all three of the mechanisms I named in the primer. A landmark trial in the New England Journal of Medicine with nearly 1,000 older adults in Spain found that a Mediterranean-style diet supplemented with olive oil and nuts led to a 52% reduction in cognitive decline over 6 years. That is not a typo. 52%. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Frank, 83, from Cincinnati, Ohio. He came to me on 6 medications and a diet of bacon, eggs, and white toast. Within 18 months of a gentle shift toward the Mediterranean pattern, his daughter, a retired nurse, told me he had stopped repeating himself within the same conversation, which had been his single most troubling symptom. There were no new drugs, just a different plate. So what should you do instead? Tonight, build one meal around plants: olive oil, leafy greens, beans, fish, or lentils. Tomorrow, build another. Make it the rule, not the exception, because the brain responds to how you eat most days, not how you eat on Sundays. If you are still with me, take 30 seconds and share this video with someone you love, your mother, your brother, your old college roommate, the neighbor you wave at every morning. Most appointments run 12 minutes, and no physician, including me, can give a 75-year-old the full story in 12 minutes. That is why I make these videos. Helping me reach one more person is the most direct way you can help me do that work. Let's bring it all together. Sleep, especially deep sleep, clears the waste from your brain every night. Daily movement fertilizes new cells and improves blood flow. Social connection oils the hinge and protects you from the rust. Reducing refined carbs lowers the silent accelerant of blood sugar swings. Treating hearing loss gives your brain back the bandwidth it has been missing. Blood pressure control keeps the river flowing. Purpose gives your engine a reason to run. Omega-3s repair the hull. Continuous learning drags new trails through the forest. And the Mediterranean style plate, item number 1, ties everything else together, cleaning the river, calming the rust, and feeding the forest at the same time. None of these are tricks. None require a prescription. All are reversible, daily inputs your brain responds to at any age. Notice, too, that almost every item I covered reinforces at least one other: sleep and blood pressure, movement and omega-3s, learning and social connection. That is not a coincidence. It is the architecture of a healthy brain, and you are now holding the blueprint. What should you do tonight and this week? Number 1, set a fixed bedtime and protect it for 7 nights. Number 2, walk 20 minutes after dinner tomorrow, then build to 30. Number 3, schedule a coffee or phone call with one friend this week. Number 4, replace one refined carb at breakfast with whole food. Number 5, schedule a hearing test in the next 60 days. Number 6, check your blood pressure this week and write it down. Number 7, name one purpose-driven activity for the next month. Number 8, eat fatty fish this week or speak to your physician about a DHA supplement. Number 9, choose a new skill to study for 15 minutes a day, 4 days a week. Number 10, build one fully Mediterranean-style dinner this week: oil, greens, fish, or beans. Here is what I want you to carry with you. Your brain is not a candle slowly burning down. It is a garden. And gardens respond to sunlight, water, and care at any age. The forgetfulness that frightens so many of my patients is not destiny. It is biology that can be redirected, and you are not too old to redirect it. You have decades of meaningful life still ahead, decades of remembering your grandchildren's names, of laughing at dinner, of driving yourself to the places that matter, of being the person your family turns to. Protecting that is not vanity. It is love for yourself and for everyone who loves you. It is never too late. I have seen 83-year-olds grow new brain cells. I have watched 81-year-olds learn the violin. I have sat with 76-year-olds who picked up hobbies they had quietly mourned. Whatever your age, the door is open right now, and it is open to you today. Subscribe to this channel and ring the bell so the next video finds you, because I read every single comment, and your comments are how I know what to cover next. Tell me in the comments which item on this list, 1 through 10, you are going to try first, and tell me the city you are watching from, because I would like to know who is in the room with me right now. I want to know.